Hi, I'm Bev. I'm 63 years old. I've had a total hip replacement and a total knee replacement. I'm riding this electronic bike, and it's easy to get on, easy to pedal. It's even going up hills. It's easy to go up hills. It don't bother my knee or my hip at all.
Beverly, can you tell me about how you have fitness? Do you exercise? Do you ride a bike normally?
I started riding a bike this year, but riding with a regular bicycle, it hurts my hip and my knee because so much pressure's on it when you're pedaling. And I walk a little, but not much. Where I live, it's mostly hills and it's hard to walk.
Do you have a bicycle?
Yes, I do have a regular bicycle.
What other kinds of fitness devices do you use?
We've got a treadmill that we use, and that's about it. Besides, when I go to my daughter's house that's a ways from me, we'll take and walk a little bit, and she's got steps we climb up. But as for other equipment, the only thing I really walk on is a treadmill every now and then.
How long ago was it that you had your hip and knee replacements?
I had my knee replacement about 13 years ago. No, my hip replacement 13 years ago. And my knee was done 6 years ago.
So are you fully recovered from those processes?
Pretty much, yes. I do a lot more than what I've done. Back then, before I couldn't even walk through a store, I'd ride on the electric wheelchairs and everything. But now I'm starting where I can actually move around and get up and walk around a lot.
Beverly, can you tell me how you injured your hip?
Well, when I was working at a magazine factory, they had these metal straps around the magazines. And I went to go across to hurry up and clock in because I was running a little late, and I tripped over the metal strap. And when I did, I fell on my hip, and I hurt my hip, but I thought it was just bruised from falling. Well, later on, it got so bad I couldn't walk or do my job, and I ended up seeing a doctor. They told me I had 3 different kinds of arthritis, and it ate my hip out. So they had to put a total new hip in there. And they said if I fell and hurt it in any way, I would end up with a plate. And that's how I ended up hurting my hip. And my knee, it was just the arthritis taking over again. And it took over. I got a total knee replacement.
How'd it feel?
Feel good. Even though it's an electric bicycle, your main control is pedaling. When you want to pedal, you can let off of the electric so you can pedal more. And it does give you a little bit of a workout, but it is really easy to pedal, a lot easier than a regular bicycle. A lot of people say that you should ride a regular bicycle, but I think if you've had a hip replacement and a knee replacement, I think this would be the way to go, because it's a lot easier going up a hill of any type of grade. Because on a regular bicycle, I can't do the hills, I can only do flat parts. And I think this would be a better way to go.
How you feeling?
Feels good. I'm not tired or anything. It's easy to pedal. It feels perfect for my height. I can actually touch the ground when I'm standing up. Most of the bikes are either too tall for me or too short, and this one feels just right. The seat works perfect on it. It's comfortable, and you don't feel the bumps as much as what you would on a regular bike.
How does the leg extension feel like when you're pedaling?
When I'm pedaling, it feels real good because it's just the right size for me. My knees ain't cramped or anything. On some of the bikes, my knees feel like they're really cramped, and it's really easy. I'm not using the electric part of the bike, I'm just using the pedals. It does real easy, and the leg extension is perfect for me. And it was really an easy breeze to get up that. If I was on a regular bike, it would be harder. My knee and my hip, sometimes it feels like it's locking up on me. It takes off pretty good. A couple pedals and it's pretty well going pretty good. It's doing 8 right now, and I feel like it's really a breeze to ride.
Now we just got to get up that hill.
I think you'll have more problem than me. I'm trying to use it just so I pedal more than I use the electric. But then you always got the backup for the electric. Let's see how this goes.
Race you to the top.
I'm not using the electric at all.
Not using the throttle, just pedaling?
Just pedaling.
Man, are you getting winded?
No, not yet.
It's a steep hill, right?
Yes, it is. I can feel my legs getting tight, but then I ain't rode a bike for a while because it's been so cold. Now, if I use the throttle without pedaling, it'll give me a break. You want me to tie a string to you?
That would actually help.
But overall, I think I would rather have this than a regular bike because I wouldn't hurt as much getting off of it.
We'll go park, okay?
All right.
Whew. Tough.
Did you get your workout?
Yeah, it's my heart's definitely pumping from that little ride. How about you?
A little.
A little?
Because I use mostly the pedal. I don't use the electric part that much.
But you're not winded at all, right?
No.
So that was fun.
Bev has really enjoyed riding this electric bike, but what I wanted to do is give you a little bit more of the details of the bike before we go for another ride. This is the Himiway Escape Pro electric bicycle. This is a Class 2 electric bicycle, meaning that it gives you pedal assist and throttle assist up to 20 miles per hour on flat ground. Now, out of the box, this does have a speed limit of around 22 miles per hour, which is perfectly legal in most states. Additionally, the Himiway Escape Pro has a 750 watt rear hub motor, and it's powered by an 840 watt-hour battery. There are 2 different versions of this electric bicycle. They look very similar. The one that I have has mechanical disc brakes, and it also has the battery on the bottom side of the down tube. I prefer this design because if you have to take the battery out and you have to leave the bike out in the rain, then water won't pull up in that battery cavity. Powering on the bike, you just hold the power button for about 3 seconds and the display will turn on. The display is pretty simple. It also has a headlight. This button here turns on the headlight and the taillight. Simply click the button and you'll see that the headlight is on when this display is illuminated. The mechanical disc brakes have a 180 millimeter front rotor, which is pretty substantial. Your typical Tour de France race bike might have a 140, 160, or 180 millimeter rotor. This one would be considered bigger, and this gives you plenty of stopping power, bringing this thing to a quick stop from its rated 22 miles per hour. This headlight is very bright. I've had the chance to ride this thing at night. You can definitely see far enough for the speed of the bike. So the light is more than just a decoration. It actually provides you a little bit of nighttime capability. You might be able to tell that this bike is a little dirty. I have been riding this thing in the rain. I've been riding it in the mud. I've been pretty much putting it through the paces. The front brake lever is an aluminum lever, and it has a little bit of a rubber touch to the front. There's plenty of stopping power. The choices were either hydraulic disc brakes. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to give enough squeezing power to actually bring this thing to a stop. And it doesn't turn out, in my opinion, that the difference between the hydraulic disc brakes and mechanical brakes is very noticeable. Additionally, this brake lever has a switch in it so that if you apply either of the brakes, the electrical motor will shut off. That's a safety feature so you don't accidentally accelerate when you think you're trying to slow down. This bike also has a pretty nice bell built in. So right next to the front brake lever is a little bell. You just pull it and it gives a pretty good ring. I like this bell a lot because it's not flimsy. Some of the bells you might find would be over here and you have to flip it with your thumb and then put your hand over there. This one you can control while also being able to control your brakes. So moving over to the right hand side, you do have a twist throttle. This twist throttle will give you all of the power up until it hits its design speed of 20 miles per hour. In addition to that, you do have your control for your 7-speed Altus Shimano shifting system. So this one has a trigger release, and then you just push it back to put it back into the gear you want to be. My only gripe about the hand grips is I like to see full length throttles for these kind of bikes. I do understand that may be a safety feature where if you don't plan to use the throttle, your hand's not at risk of twisting. But having ridden motorcycles in my younger years, I'm used to having that full twist throttle. And this is honestly what you would get standard on most electric bikes. So this thing does have a 840 watt hour rechargeable battery, and you can charge the battery either on the bike through this little port, or the battery itself also has a similar port. So this bike does have an 840 watt hour battery in the down tube of the frame. You can charge this either by plugging in your 5mm charging cable right here, or the thing I like about this battery is that you can remove the battery and bring the battery into your office or your home without having to lug the bike up the stairs into your building so that you can recharge it. That would be useful for someone like me where I don't want to bring the bike inside, but I want to make sure the battery's charged before my next trip. It would also be great for commuters and anybody who needs to be able to charge with the battery off the bike. The bike does come with some pretty solid metal pedals. I do like that. Some of these bikes come with plastic pedals, and after a few rides, those things will start to break or fall off. I feel like these pedals will last quite a while, and they also have little knurlings on them that will hold your feet on when you start to get a little bit squirrely, either off-road or standing up on the pedals. So here's your 7-speed Shimano Altus rear derailleur. It does have a single speed up front. One gripe that I do have about this setup is with this bike in its highest gear, you cannot pedal reasonably at the highest speed of the bike. So if you are using that pedal assist, yes, the motor will keep assisting you as you go faster, but you will be out spinning, so you will effectively not be applying any pressure from the pedals to the speed that you're going. So that's a minor gripe. And if you are pedaling this bike, you're probably doing something wrong because it's really best ridden as kind of an electric scooter more so than a bicycle. So this bike does have a dual suspension. On the back, this reminds me of the Sportster suspension from Harley Davidson from about 20 years ago. You could use a spanner wrench. I currently have it on the lowest setting, and for me, the lowest setting is perfect. But if you are a little bit heavier of a rider, you could use a spanner wrench and twist that up and add a little more preload to the suspension system. Moving over to the front, this suspension feels like an air suspension. It might be a spring suspension, but I have had no problems riding this off of curbs, onto curbs, up and down hills. You can also lock it out. So if for some reason you don't want the shocks to depress when you're pushing on it, then you just lock it out. But for me, the best comfort is just to have it fully dampened. We do have a rear rack, and the rear rack has some wood on it. The rear rack is pretty stable. I would have liked to have also gotten the front rack as well. That's an accessory you can get for this bike for about 90 bucks on their website, including shipping. So you could get that if you needed it.
So the throttle's definitely powerful enough to keep me moving at about 20 miles per hour. Pedaling is definitely an option. I don't feel like I have to pedal. And with my leg extension, it honestly feels like it's more of a chore to pedal than it would be on a regular bike. But the whole purpose of a bike like this isn't necessarily to pedal. It's kind of to just cruise around and enjoy yourself without breaking a sweat. Anytime I ride a bike like this, I always make sure to have a helmet on. On a regular bicycle, I would usually wear like a bicycle helmet, but I feel like the skateboard helmet is a little more appropriate on a bicycle like this. Man, this is so much fun. Normally coming up to a stop sign like this, I would be a little concerned with not stopping at the stop sign on a regular bike, because there's like this added energy cost of stopping and going on a regular bike. But I feel like with the throttle on this bicycle, why not go ahead and stop? And I know in some places you have for bicycles, treat the stop sign like a yield sign. And I pretty much fundamentally agree with that because of the slow speed you're already going on a bicycle. But on this thing, it's not even a worry. So an interesting thing that's happening right now is it is a little cooler out. And normally if I'm on my regular bicycle, I would be warmed up because my blood would be pumping as I'm pedaling. But In this case, I'm obviously not getting a workout in this situation, so my blood's not pumping. But like I said, this thing is super fun. It's really just amazing to ride something like this. Himiway claims that this bike will get about 30 miles with the throttle on a complete state of charge. To me, that's plenty of distance. And that brings me to my number one biggest con with this bicycle. It takes 6 to 7 hours to charge from a completely discharged state, and that can be a long time, especially if you're trying to go, you know, a long distance. So if you're really gonna be a hyper mile user or someone who's going really ultra long distances, I would recommend getting a second battery that you could have charged and then swap them out as needed. 30 miles is plenty of distance. So if you're gonna use this for something like Uber Eats, something like that, with that front rack, with this back rack, this thing feels pretty solid. Okay, so my second gripe with the bike is the taillight. It has a nice taillight, and when you hit the brake switch, the taillight flashes. I would like to have seen a more DOT style taillight brake light, so that when you hit the brake lever, that backlight illuminates brighter. So always on and then brighter when you squeeze the lever. Other than that, this thing is a lot of fun to ride.
So first of all, thank you so much for testing this bicycle. Did you enjoy riding it?
Yes, I really enjoyed riding it. I thank you for letting me ride it.
Do you have any closing thoughts, maybe anything you'd like to tell anybody out there?
Well, I really like it. It was easy to pedal, real nice going up the hills. Overall, I really liked riding the bike a lot. It's a lot better than a regular bike.
So Bev, I feel like you would probably get a lot more enjoyment out of a bicycle like this than I will. So what I want to do is give you this bike, one, for test riding it with me and allowing me to film you as you rode it. And I do believe that it'll benefit you a lot more than it'll benefit me. The bike is yours.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
Thank you to Himiway Bikes for sending me this bike. I believe that Beverly's going to enjoy it. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss my next video.